My friends at Easy Cater are workplace catering pros, helping you find food for everything from daily employee meals to staff meetings and special events. Visit easycater.com/leaderassistant to find out more.
My name is Deborah Mendes, and today's leadership quote comes from my client Jan Tutant, CEO of Econocom in the Netherlands. Every CEO should look at a preventative way to approach workplace well-being and sickness management.
The Leader Assistant podcast exists to encourage and challenge assistants to become confident, game-changing leader assistants.
Thank you for listening to the Leader Assistant podcast. And here's your host, my dada.
Hey friends, thanks for tuning in to the Leader Assistant podcast. It's episode 107. You can find the show notes at leaderassistant.com/107. Today's interview is with Deborah Mendes. I actually recorded this interview before the COVID pandemic and am finally catching up and getting it edited and published, so I'm excited to share it. Deborah has adapted to the remote work world, and you should definitely check her out on LinkedIn. But she's got some great tips to share, and I'm excited to dive in. But first, just wanted to invite you all to check out our premium paid subscription membership, the Leader Assistant membership. You can find out information at leaderassistant.com/membership. We have one group coaching training call every month, and we dive into different topics like the attributes of a high-performing executive assistant team. We talk about compensation, negotiation. We talk about resumes, performance reviews, calendar management, time management, health and wellness, and burnout, and anything you can think of that relates to our lives and work as executive assistants. So we'd love to have you join us. Assistants from all over the world are in the membership. We have a private forum online to watch the replays of all of the sessions that you missed, so you can catch up even if you join today. So again, leaderassistant.com/membership. It's only $39 a month, and we'd love to have you join us. Hey everyone, thanks for tuning in to the Leader Assistant podcast. Today I'm excited to be speaking with Deborah Mendes. She is an executive assistant at General Electric. Deborah, how are you?
I'm very well, thank you very much, and thank you so much for having me.
And what part of the world are you in today?
I'm in London in the UK.
Awesome. Well, what was your very first job, and what skills did you learn from that job that you still use today?
My very first job was actually teaching business to 16 to 18-year-olds. And I think what I learned from that the most was actually my listening skills, to really be flexible and adaptive, to really sort of listen to what's going on and the behaviour, what's behind people's behaviour. And also, I also learnt I actually like to help people grow and empower people. So that's been like a common thread throughout my career. So I suppose that was what I learned in my first job.
Awesome. So when and why did you end up becoming an executive assistant?
Good question. So I was actually in a marketing career for a long time. It was very all-encompassing and consuming. And I took a step back in 2005. I actually had an opportunity to take gardener's leave because I was split up. And I wanted to go for more work-life balance. So, but also, with marketing, I could either go into a sort of director role, but I didn't feel comfortable going into director role at the time. I felt I was much better in a support role, where sort of helping other people. So it was two things really: a sort of self-reflection of who I am and how I want to show up, but also I liked the idea that I could go home and do other things that weren't related to work. So that's what got me into it in the first place. And I actually started temping at the same time as discovering life on the river. So that sort of, that balance of doing my sort of outdoor nature activities and then being in the office and being in front of the computer, that both things sort of balance each other out. Supporting people was what I was always good at, supporting people in my marketing role, my marketing director. And when it came to me wanting, what was my next step, I just really did not want to go into the limelight.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
So what's been maybe the most difficult part about being an assistant?
I think it's being the challenge, which is the good thing as well, is maintaining balance, and to know that you have to be like a rock through changes within organisations, within the environment, sort of the wider environment, and just to be able to sort of the resilience to sort of to deal with your sort of the everyday demand. So, my boss once said to me, your job's a bit like, you're a tennis player and you have lots of balls coming at you. Your job is to bat them back. So, you have to really stand firm. And, I think it's a very unique role. And it does demand that you are incredibly balanced and strong, and consistent. So, it's difficult, it's a challenge, but it's good. That's what's made me who I am today.
Nice. So what should executives look for in an assistant?
Well, as well as capability, which you can ask other people and look at people's CVs and see what they've done, I would say the number one thing would be the rapport and chemistry, because your relationship with your executive is very different from any other relationship that executive has with other people within the company. It's very intimate. You're working very, very directly. And so you've got to really be able to get on with no sort of barriers, which perhaps if you haven't got that sort of chemistry, you get each other, then that would be, I think that would be the number one thing. You just know. And that's why I think when you go for interviews, you have to go for interviews, or you have to have these face-to-face conversations, because you just don't know until you've met somebody and shook their hands. Are you going to get on?
Yeah. So let's talk a little bit about balance. So you do a lot of health and wellness initiatives with your organization locally. And then I believe you mentioned that you're starting to implement that, or the company's implementing it globally. Can you tell us about your health and wellness initiative?
Yeah. So there is already a health initiative in GE globally and locally. So really what I'm doing is integrating a nature connection element into what's happening already, and sort of amplifying it. So the first thing I had to do was basically find a team of people to work with, because our site champion had left and there wasn't anyone doing any health initiatives. So I had to resurrect the health committee within our building. I started to make some inquiries, and we got some people together. My particular thing that I'm doing locally is taking people out at lunchtime to the park, which is 5 minutes away, to do a nature connection experience. And then that kind of fits into like a sort of wellbeing program that we've designed locally. And then that fits in then with the global sort of head office in the US. They organise quarterly sort of campaigns. So in this quarter, they have a resilience campaign, and they've asked me to contribute to the nature element of it. So they hadn't put nature in there, and so it's like 12 steps to nature. 12 steps to resilience, and every day you take a step, and then there's some actions that people can take. So I created a document where people could take some steps and reflect a little bit about how a nature connection could help with resilience. And I also did 3 videos, which were very rough and ready. And I just thought, I'm just going to just do it and share it with the global team and see what they think. And yeah, they said that's really good because it just shows that what we like about it, it's an employee doing it, and it just shows that other people can do it, because at the end of the day, yes, there is sort of some paid health staff doing the health initiative head office wise, but apart from that, it's all over and above your job description. It's all voluntary. So, they just want lots of people to have buy-in and everything. So these videos of very sort of rough and ready videos are all going out globally across the world on how to connect to nature and get people doing. So I'm doing things online as well as, offline with people face to face. And there's some very good outcomes. It's been great.
That's awesome. So when you do these walks at lunch, and we talked before, you mentioned about basically what's called forest bathing. Is that right?
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about that.
So, forest bathing, the word originates from the term Shinrin-yoku, which the concept was created in Japan for the preventative health service when they realized that there were problems with because of urbanization, people were suffering from a lot of disease, so they shipped people into the forests to do these nature walks. And that's kind of been adopted as a term and is kind of spreading across the US and Europe. So I do use the word forest bathing, but it's really about nature connection. And you can connect. Connecting to nature at a deeper level isn't just about walking in the park or networking or doing sport. There's different ways that you can connect to nature, and forest bathing is very much about immersing yourself with all your senses. And in order to do that, you really need to slow down and be more present, and then sort of be much more in your body, so that you can sort of disconnect. And then from there, you can then reconnect. And the forest bathing process, it's guided, so that you are given sort of invitations, very much to help someone on have their own experience and their own journey. So it's definitely not prescriptive, and it's not coaching. So you have these invitations to help people disconnect, and then to connect with all their senses, and then you kind of finish with a sort of little integration exercise. It can be like a tea ceremony if you're going to go for the full forest bathing experience, or we in the park we do share some tea just at the end, just to integrate people back. It's like if you've been meditating, you want to just get back into the real world. But the other thing about the forest bathing is that it's kind of your own experience, like you would have on a yoga mat. But at intermittent intervals, you will come around in a circle and share your experience. And it's just amazing what people share. You don't have to share anything, but we'll sort of take it in turns. And it's really, really bonding and sort of brings people into a very sort of human space that really isn't felt, in the corporate world, on a sort of, your busy working day. You suddenly connect with people on a completely different level. And it's, it's beautiful, actually, some of the things that come up. And it's often there's some very, very common threads as well. So you realise people are very similar, even though there's so much diversity as well.
So, we talked about this the other day, and you mentioned that these experiences sometimes reveal things in people. They may reveal things like, oh, you know what, I'm burned out, and I need to slow down. I need to take a vacation. I need to get out into nature more. So just kind of talk a little bit about the importance of self-care and just self-awareness, and how you've seen, even for your own career and your own life, how getting out in nature has helped you become more self-aware and take care of yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. The example that we were talking about was, somebody that when we were out on the walk, she really, by the slowing down element, which, you are very supported, in the nature, she really felt, she felt very tired, and she felt she couldn't go back to work almost. So, it gives you, it's in a way that's the sort of mindfulness element that you really need to take a step back for a minute. And what happened with her was, her feedback was it's very enlightening. And from there, from taking a step back and reviewing and observing, she was able to take some action and, have a choice of and freedom to think about what she was going to do. And in fact, she went back to the gym, which is great because she gave herself permission to do something for herself. For me, the self-awareness is absolutely number one. For everybody, really, that's the first step before you can really improve your situation. And a little bit about my story is that, my well-being has been a big priority for me personally. And it was a particularly, I kind of decided to own it more beginning of the year when people, including my boss, put a mirror up in front of my face and mentioned that I wasn't fully present. And I really thought about how I was experiencing the workplace, and being in an open plan office with noise and not able to completely control temperature and lighting. I suddenly realized I needed to ask myself, what do I need? And, also because it's not just about you needing to, for example, focus, but also, whatever mood you're in, there are mirror neurons. So, if you're not exuding a sort of calm, mood or people will react. So you affect other people and, your day will go in a different way depending on how you project yourself. So, that awareness is absolutely critical to, how your day goes, how your life goes. And it really is a choice. And so, just really checking in, am I uncomfortable? Why do I feel stressed? Why am I feeling irritated? What can I do about it? And it could be as simple as just taking a look out the window and just resting your eyes and looking at the clouds in the sky, which, it's not natural for us to look at a screen for a long time. So to then look at something natural like the clouds or leaves blowing in the trees or they're called fractal patterns. It's very, very relaxing for our brains. And when we're completely overstimulated and we're actually very, we have to pay a lot of attention all the time. We need that sort of calming cognitive rest, which, I was finding that occasionally I'd get brain fog. So I really had to pay attention. I think this is good for everybody, really. Just, like you would adjust your posture, you can also, feel, are you feeling overwhelmed in your head? Are you getting a headache? Well, you can just look outside. It's as simple as that. Or do I need to take myself out of the environment just to another place in the office? Or do I need to go and get some fresh air? Do I need to go into the park, and take 15 minutes? And I did actually, have a conversation with my boss and share. It was difficult, but I did share, how I was feeling and experiencing things. And I did say, sometimes I'll need to go outside and just spend some, rest time, take a bit of time out. But it was hard for me to do that. Wellbeing's always been my and nature. I mean, nature's really been my saviour since 2005. I think when I did have that sort of changing career, it just offers so many things. So much comes up from it. The beauty as well. There's lots of ways to connect with nature, and one of them is that these sort of moments of, when I was on the river, in the morning you'd sort of see the steam coming off the water, and that just brings you. It kind of like, it's an awe thing. It kind of cuts through any sort of jadedness you have, and sort of, it makes you want to cry. If you see a nice view or something, it's kind of like, you just think, oh, it's this, you have this sense of joy, which is quite hard sometimes to experience. But that feeling is my North Star. And, so, I've got, it's the self-care well-being element. It's more about getting back to your true self, and, we are nature. And when you are in nature, then you begin then to become more of your true self. And once you sort of, you get more in touch with yourself, then you can then connect better with others, and then, with the wider world as well. And you feel like you're more part of, not separate. You're part of a bigger picture. You only have to look up at the stars, which I did recently, and you just think, oh, what are my problems all about, kind of thing. So, you can do forest bathing just by looking out the window, or in the park, or by looking out and camping outside at night. So it's just about being connected at a deeper level, and people have you can have like quite nice memories and emotions related to nature as well. So that's another way that you can bond with people. So when we go for our lunchtime walks, I ask them to share a memory of them, with nature. And it's really bonding. It's really nice to, hear what people's memories are. So, it's a nice way to connect people. And people show up in different ways as well. I mean, I definitely show up best when I'm in nature. I'm my best self when I'm in nature. So I think that's probably another reason why I'm doing this, is because, I just want to show up as my best. And so when you get people out at these lunchtime things or different events, people who perhaps might be less visible in the workplace suddenly are different people. so when we're doing these sharing things, it's very it's bonding and cohesive, and you see people in different light, so people can be much more seen and heard. Yeah, I suppose that's like a sort of team building thing, but because it's mindful and it's quite it's supported. It's not like going out and doing like a sort of team building event outdoors. It's very much more intimate, and it's all in a very safe space as well, and you are supported. I find that the other thing I do is when I'm working at home is I ground myself. I go out into my garden and take my shoes and socks off, and all the energy from my head goes back into the ground. That's brilliant. So yeah, the grounding is really important, and you could even put that into your sort of morning practice, where you would do some meditation, but just take your shoes and socks off. It just feels so nice. And yeah, I just love, personally, I love having my back to a tree. I find it's very comforting, and it's almost like giving my niece a hug. It's that kind of comforting. It's kind of a release. But just so many things that you can get from nature, and it's really our natural restorative place to go. And the more we learn that we're sort of part of nature, and that we're actually it's not just that we use nature to go to the park, to have fun, to have a picnic or whatever, but it's we start wanting to care, and so there is that sort of compassionate element as well that comes in when you start connecting. So the sort of giving element, which is also good for well-being.
So how do you or how would you encourage other assistants to start something like this in their company? They may be hearing you and thinking, oh yeah, this is never going to fly with our team, or this is never going to fly with our executives, and it's heads down, keep working. It's oh, you don't have time to go do a 45-minute outdoor activity or whatever. Like how would you encourage other assistants who want to kind of start something like this?
Yeah. I think if we were going to go from the assistants, assistants have influence as well. But I think, assistants have to understand, first of all, what it's about. I think you do need to put that time aside. You need to ask for that time. This is my time. If you can potentially ask for even 2 hours, it's not that easy, but if you can get permission to talk about the benefits as well, in terms of connection. As an EA, it can be quite lonely, because you're supporting high level people, so you're not really interrelating with the teams. So to have that sort of outlet of community in a sort of natural environment, that's one. So if you can sort of sell the benefits, and also the calming, so people can see that you're coming back and you're calm, and that then affects how you are with your executive. When you are more focused, and you've had that rest, to be able to incorporate that into your weekly practice or your weekly routine, it's kind of like a no-brainer, really. And also, I'll bring this in. I was on a workshop with Bonnie Lee Kramer. And we were just talking about salaries, that sometimes if you can't get a salary pay rise, there might be some other things you can negotiate, like different benefits, and one thing might be a monthly Sunday walk, that the company would pay for as a sort of benefit, rather than go to, you could have a choice of different things. And one of them could be that, as opposed to, going to the gym or, so that's another way you could do it. But the thing is, just start from what I've been doing. You just start small. My path was, okay, I'm going to do this. I don't care, if what people think. And, I did it through the health committee. So we sent an email, but I also did a mail drop with some leaflets to every single desk in the building of 400. And that was really good, because I got talking to people, literally. And I'd say about 20% of people really smiled and said, that's really good. And that was where I found my people, my first people as a buy-in, who are now sort of, I'm working with them. One's a life coach. So she's very into it, and she's very well connected as well. And from there, we've now got about 7 people who want to then spread the word. So, you just need one person to follow you, and then you can create a movement just like that.
Oh, nice. That's great.
Yeah.
I love the idea of going through the corporate chain, but then also just sending a note to each person and walking by and saying, hey, I'm going to do this. I love it. So how is, you mentioned, okay, if you're staring at a screen all day, you can stare outside at, you look outside at the clouds and kind of take a minute for yourself. What's maybe your best tip on managing constant interruptions? So it's one thing to say, oh, I'm sitting here in my office and I'm going to self-regulate and say, all right, I'm going to set a timer every hour and I'm going to look out the window for a few minutes and kind of refocus. But it's another thing when you've got people just constantly interrupting you and causing distractions from the outside. How do you manage those interruptions?
Well, you can either say that you're, I try not to have too many interruptions. So, if I'm, I'll block that time out. So, usually I'll be available on Skype or, on Messenger. And if someone's interrupting, then I'll just say, just hold on a moment. I'm just finishing what I'm doing, and and then I'll poise myself, and then I'll stop what I'm doing, and then I'll listen to that person, and then I'll find out what I need to do with that, whether I need to do it, whether it's a priority, and then I'll put it on my list and I'll write it down. And once I've written it down, it's on the list. Then I can go back to what I'm doing, because I know when I need to do it and when the priority is. So I'll do, if there is a direct inquiry that comes in, someone just comes to your desk, yes, of course, you'll stop what you're doing just when you've just finished something, and then but you don't necessarily have to act straight away. So it's about asking and communicating and prioritizing. And if you find it's too much and overwhelming, then you just have to, as I say, take yourself into a different space. You've just got to be aware.
Nice. So tell us a little bit about your side hustle. You have another kind of business, and then just maybe general thoughts on being an entrepreneur in a corporate organization like GE.
Okay, so back in 2016, I asked for a job share because I wanted to explore other ways that I could earn a living, because I couldn't see progression within the company. And so one of my mentors recognized that I was a connector, and she said, oh, my community would like to get on some podcasts. Why don't you, connect people to podcasts so that they can be heard? So I said, oh yeah, that's a good idea. I like that idea. And it's kind of a make things happen type role. So which, I could see how it was a transferable skill, as well as, being able to sort of pitch people and see that connection, why it would match. So yeah, that's what started it. So I get people on podcast interviews just like this, and then it expanded to me hosting video interviews. So I'd find people that would be good to have a conversation with, and organise these video interviews and panel discussions, so that these conversations can become visible and heard. And it helps people with their messaging. When you voice something, this is really helping me. Just by voicing it, you can get more clarity with your messaging. It helps with helping a CEO become a corporate at the moment. So it helps him with his internal communication and working with his internal comms team, as well as managing his personal brands and his corporate brands within social media. And we're repurposing it into his social media and onto YouTube as well. So it's quite extensive. But yeah, the main thing is, there's a thread is about connection and getting people seen and heard. I absolutely love it. Especially with my client, he's a visionary leader. And so you've got to really get your own messaging clear before you can bring it to other people. And when you can speak to people that, resonate with you, like a podcast host, then it's easier to articulate something than if you are with your audience that are disconnected and you're wanting a transformation kind of thing. So speaking to a podcast host is great for connection, actually, because they're representing your audience. So I really like that, and I really like sort of helping people to grow and empowering them to hear their own voice. That's why I support podcasts so much, and that's kind of led me on to my next career thing as well. But it could be anyone, entrepreneurs, and then you're asking what's it like to be within a company as an EA as well. It has helped me become more entrepreneurial, or to do more stuff on the health voluntary side, the health initiative. The sort of health champion, she said, we can try it, but if it doesn't work, it doesn't matter. We'll just try it. But that's not what entrepreneurs do. It's like, well, yes, it's all about experimenting and failing forward. There's no such thing as failure. So yes, we can try it, but if something doesn't work, then we look at a different way to do it. So it kind of gives you more sort of creativity and confidence to sort of experiment in things. And my outlook is through this health initiative. But also, I guess as an EA, we are problem solvers, and that's how I've stayed employed, is because I see the problem that other people can't, don't want to focus on. And, you can volunteer then to say, okay, I'll sort that out. And, you have to make things happen. So you have to have those problem solving skills, and entrepreneurs are about solving problems and being of service. So it kind of, I've already been an entrepreneur as my EA role without realizing. And then I guess it's sort of more amplified in that I can now bring it into an avenue of somewhere where I want to grow. So it's all positive. I have heard some negative remarks about entrepreneurs and corporates. Entrepreneurs are, disruptive, but it, and also I think, entrepreneurial or creativity is good sometimes, but sometimes you need to implement as well. So, it depends on what needs to be done, the stage of the business, the type of the business as well.
Yeah, I think it's interesting because, there are a lot of larger companies like an Apple or I think Facebook and maybe Amazon or Google, some of these larger global companies, and GE is obviously a very large global company as well, but some of them have pretty strict, like you can't really do other things while you're working here. And so I think that's great that they're flexible with you and that you're able to kind of do that kind of side hustle and things that keep your creative juices flowing, probably make you a better EA anyway. So I think
Absolutely.
That's great.
Completely.
So Deborah, thanks so much for sharing your story and your passion for nature connection, and just really appreciate you taking the time. Where can we find you online, and how can we support what you're up to?
Yeah. Okay, so the best place to connect with me is on LinkedIn, Deborah Mendes. I think you're going to have the link in the show notes. Mm-hmm. And my mail address, deborahmendes001@gmail.com. And the best way to support me really is just to contact me to carry on the conversation. All about sort of mental health, well-being in the workplace. So it's becoming a big priority in organizations. And if I can help come into the conversation with a nature connection slant, then that'd be fantastic. I think I'm doing something innovative, and I really want to just hear from people and just start that conversations. So and take it from there, really.
Awesome. Sounds great. I'll definitely share the links in the show notes. And thanks again, and we'll talk soon.
Thanks, Jeremy. That's amazing. And thank you very much for providing this amazing platform. You're doing great work.
Thanks again for listening. Check out the show notes at leaderassistant.com/107, and we will talk to you next week.
Please review on Apple Podcasts. GoBulls.com.